We're on live. Hello, everyone.
Great.
Great. Hi, Manuel. How are you today?
I'm very well,
Very
and
well.
I'm happy that technology cooperates with us today. So we're ready to get started.
I know. Yeah. We're all ready. I believe we're on live and we're on live on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry if I'm looking like everywhere. Like I told you, I have like several things running at the same time.
That's perfect.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Well, welcome everyone, our dear audience, wherever you're tuning in from. Again, thank you for spending this time with us. Every time these kind of talk inspire me a lot. I hope you get the same feeling. And today we're very happy to have Manuel join us. Welcome again, Manuel.
Thank you, Isabella. Glad to see you.
Glad to see you too. And we're going to talk about digital transformation, of course, and more lean towards to the technology, from technology to new business models. And there's a lot of things to talk about. And Manu and I had a couple conversations before this. So it's definitely a great topic. And a little bit about Manuel, I have to introduce him because he has an awesome background. He's a former CMO at Huawei, one of the largest company in China. And now he's running as the instructor and also the facilitator, right, at Cornell University, and focus on the topic, all these relevant topic about what we're gonna talk about: 5G, Internet of Things, right, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, and we're gonna cover that in one of our questions. And another exciting thing Manuel is doing is his latest nonprofit organization called Actionable Knowledge Foundation Institute. Did I get it right?
Great.
And it's
You got
short.
it perfectly. And for short, it's AKFI. Easier
Yes.
to.
AKFI. And another exciting, meaningful initiative, we're going to touch on that as well. As you can tell from the name, I will let Manu tell you more about the story. But anyway, I said enough. I just want to introduce our awesome guest. And Manu, feel free to say hello if I missed anything, to chip in before we start on the official topic. Let everyone know about you.
No, actually, you gave me a better introduction than I can make it myself. So we're ready.
And this is something I ask almost to every guest. It's we're talking about digital transformation, and it's a buzzword. Even before the pandemic, it's been around, not as much as now, but even now, it's still very confusing. I mean, it could mean different things to different people. So, Manuel, based on your hardcore engineering background and your real practice life experience up till today, like almost for decades, right? What's your opinion? In your opinion, what's your definition of digital transformation?
So, as you're asking the question, I actually wish that we flip the words around, this transformation digital.
Transformation digital.
Because really it's transformation. Digital is the technology. And the way I imagine is a three-legged stool, right? One of these stools we sit on.
Yeah.
And of course, one leg is technology. And people pick on technology and they think that once they introduce the digital technology, everything is done. But actually, there are two more legs and two very important legs. One is social. You have to bring your employees with you. You have to bring your stockholders and stakeholders with you. You have to change the culture of the company. You have to reskill people in order to manage and change and use the digital technologies.
Right.
Especially people that are not born digital, right? There are previous generations, and they still need to learn more about digitalization. And equally important is the business model. And the business model, simply put, it's about value creation. And I'm going to repeat again with transformation digital.
Interesting.
So transforming the business to create new value, not to just try to do exactly the same business models with the same people and use digital technology model. So three-legged stool.
Right.
Technology, business models, and people social
culture.
Culture transformation.
Nice.
All three have to happen in order for having a stable transformation, a good transformation.
Amazing. I like the definition. It definitely talks about the core of this transformation. It's not about technology. It's not about digital. It's transformation on a much larger scale, from up to down, right?
Absolutely, Isabella. Sometimes they refer to it the fourth industrial revolution. Right. The first one was the steam engine. The second one was the electricity and the electric engine, electric motors. The third one was the introducing of computer, and now is the introduction of technologies such as artificial intelligence, IoT, the ones you mentioned, electric vehicles with self-guided and self-driving capabilities.
Exactly. You've been trained over 1,000 corporate managers and executive across 45 countries. So you have this very special, amazing position to be able to communicate and to interact and to even train them on this leading subject. So I'm very curious to find out from you, from your daily communication with them, what's going on in these executives' mind nowadays.
I would categorize executives for today at least in two categories: managers and leaders.
Managers and leaders.
And leaders. One category is managers, people that manage processes. They introduce digital technology in order to create more efficient processes and so on. And then there are the leaders which want to see the future, want to implement the future, want to change the culture of the company, want to change things. So again, back to the transformation theme. The managers are cautious, slow, reluctant to transform. The leaders cannot wait for the day to transform. And I'm not talking only about my students, it's also my experience in the industry.
Right.
So depends which side of the house you look. I would say one of the important differences is leaders think of people and cultures change, and they are successful in digital transformation.
Right.
And managers are using the technology.
Right.
They invest a lot of money,
right.
And they have a huge failure rate in implementing digitalization. About 70%, if we believe the statistics.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the investments don't return, don't produce added value, don't create new value.
Absolutely. I've heard about those numbers. Unfortunately, it's not good to hear.
And this is where culture comes in place. We need the leaders to drive the culture. We need the CFOs and the managers and the CXOs, the CEOs to manage the daily operations.
Right.
You cannot change. If you go and take a large company and try to change it very fast, it's like trying to turn a big ship around, on a few seconds or a few minutes. You can't.
No.
Because you have to take all the people with you. So both have to work. So the success is not one group or the other. It's how well they work together.
Absolutely. I was going to ask about that. Does that mean they need to cooperate? Like, what's your advice? Because obviously it sounds like they possess a different mentality. I would say that, right? For leaders and for workers. And how do we meet that gap and to cooperate and to be on the same page?
Uh, Good leaders and good managers understand both their strengths and their limits, and they empower each other to to drive in to drive in the right direction with the transformation. In the same time, to do it in such a way that they take it gradually,
Mm-hmm.
efficiently, because you cannot one day close the shop and say, no, we are digital, we do only take a bank, right? We do only fintech.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to go on the phone. No, because there are people with 20 years working with that bank that want to go to the teller.
Right.
They want to. So this kind of transformation has to be done by both and trust between them, good relationships, delegation, anything that the
Mm-hmm.
consulting companies sell for a little fortune.
Thank you for the truth, Manuel. Yeah, that's for sure. I guess the hardest part it's always comes from working with people. The technology, the right. That's an art. That's a science to be explored.
Absolutely, but technology, you get very qualified people, especially large companies, have a pool of talent that they can definitely put to good use. However, this pool of talent, this pool of engineers, have to be
Mm-hmm.
guided in
Yeah.
terms of value creation, in terms of position in the marketing.
Right.
So a lot of high-tech companies tend to rely more on technology than to rely on, as you said, on people, on their
Mm-hmm.
customers,
Mm-hmm.
on dialogue with the customers. So this is the current situation in my view.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I have some follow-up question. We'll circle back if we have time. And next thing I wanted to explore with you, it's about the organization that you recently founded, and also the this theory that you founded based on, right? The E. I actually have it here. I don't know if it's helpful if I pull it out to
Sure.
show. Oops, there you go. It's a little
So
messy. You see it or no?
very well, thank you, Isabel.
Okay.
So let me very quickly preface it with one thing. A lot of funding,
Oh, stop. There
about
you go.
to get the number exactly, about 53 trillion with T
Right.
dollars will be spent by investors in investing companies, by individual investors and finance industry
Right.
on global ESG, which stands for economic,
Econ-
social, and governance.
social and governance.
So they look at the companies that have very good rating in ESG because
Mm-hmm.
the investors now demand, especially the younger generation, demands that companies will operate not only for profit,
Mm-hmm.
but also to be good to the environment, to be good to the ecosystem, to be good to the stockholders and stakeholders
Mm-hmm.
equally. So that's one. So if we go back to the question of how these companies will operate,
Right.
really, I started this transformation digital. There is a transformation ESG.
Yeah.
And the transformation ESG, when we analyze it, we realize that there is very little use or measurements of risks or measurements of value creation from digitalization, from digital transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that investments, especially at this scale, by the way, there are about 7 billion, there are about actually about $6.8 trillion to be invested in digital transformation. So we realized that with very high failure rate in digital transformation,
Mm-hmm.
is not reflected in the ESG investments.
Right.
So we are in the process of creating an industry forum which looks at risk and value creation on both sides. Value creation from being efficient in using the resources, ESG, social and ecological or environmental, having good governance, but also using the technology. And if you go back to that Pentagon, if you want, that actually shows the combination of the two transformations in one. And we do it in order to increase sustainability. We do it in order to create resilience of the company, because again, technology is fundamental to resilience. And longevity, the transformation, especially the digital transformation, is tied directly to the longevity of the company. If companies fail on digital, well, they get acquired, they get closed, they get, punished by the investors.
Right. And also I think you also mentioned in the at one of your article about the purpose of this foundation. It's to eliminate upcoming critical events.
Black swans.
Black swans,
we call it.
Yes.
And black swans are critical, unique events. It's actually part of our methodology, because we want to start with extreme cases in order to create plans, actionable knowledge, right? We want actionable plans based on current knowledge, using examples. We call it corner cases, we call it black swans. In other words, examples of the most catastrophic events a company can have. We work with the companies in order to have plans. So, everybody talks about COVID, so I'll do the same. But there are many other cases where companies cannot operate. Earthquakes, power failure in Texas, fires in California, and so on, to just give a few examples. So we're looking at these corner cases and these black swan events, which are unique and catastrophic in nature, as a way to start our planning process.
There's a way. There's a solution to prevent these kind of catastrophic black swans.
Prevent, mitigate, avoid, depends on the case. Absolutely.
Nice. Can you explain about this, the scale of disasters? Black swan is the worst case, right? Because I had to Google it to find out. So I think the audience needs some knowledge on that too.
Okay, black swan, it's sort of more used in the finance industry. It had been created by a prof in mathematics, actually, talking about low probability, high impact, right, or catastrophic impact. I'll be very quick on the story of black swan, but for hundreds of years in the English language, they consider black swans an event that cannot happen, right? There are only white swans around us. Until we came in contact with indigenous people in Australia, which had black swans. And now black swans became one of these very rare events. And it's very interesting because it is in Western philosophy, in Western culture. It's like, okay, I'll believe you when I see a black swan. Well, they exist. They exist, and they from there they came into the business world, into the financial world as extreme events, extremely rare, but associated with catastrophic events. Stock exchange meltdowns, meteorites hitting buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you think at this age we're living in, it's necessary to have a vision to prevent that, even though it's.
If you want longevity for a company, especially longevity, you have to be prepared for, the cliches, prepare for unprepared, right?
Yes.
So especially managers that are dealing with technology such as digital transformation. I'll give you an example that it's in the news these days. Cybersecurity attacks, essentially cybercrime, is growing.
Yes.
Ransomware is catastrophic for a company.
Yeah.
It's a digital transformation. It's related to digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
It is not really capturing ESG reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of these risks that investors and the finance industry has to be cognizant of.
Right.
And hopefully companies will have plans on how to avoid.
How to avoid? Yeah, it's very new. I agree. And kind of circle back on that disconnection between ESG and digital transformation, right? That's where you jump in, develop this new model. Of course, it's obvious why there's a disconnection because there are new things and we're kind of still getting used to it. And aside from that, what are the other root or main cause or reason for this happening, the disconnection, this missing link between the two?
I think there are multiple reasons. One of the reasons is the ESG, the sustainability movement, which took maybe 20 years to happen. It's not new, right? It started 20 years ago with United Nations and so on, and accelerates as we see our planet changing and not changing to the better. We see our environment changing. So sustainability was focused on what we call it in economics inputs: water, electricity, things that we use it to produce goods. On the other hand, digital transformation is more on the value creation, new business models, and so on. Unfortunately, actually, even today, most companies have an ESG, they call it CSR, right? They're doing reporting and trying to keep it. And then they have the CIO or the CTIO or the CTO investing in technology.
Yeah.
And the two are not coming together even inside large companies. I'm very encouraged because I picked up 3 examples now that this started to happen, and these are very recent. The most recent one is an interview from Santander that it's only hours ago to Bloomberg by the chairwoman of Santander. And she mentioned that they'll invest $20 billion in digital transformation in the next 4 years. Wow. And also improve on ESG. Continue to improve, continue to give loans. So they got already this vision. They understand. We talked about leadership, right? Yeah. They understand that they have to come together. And I'm very encouraged about that. Another one is Ford Motor Company. When they talk about the electric vehicles, they, for the first time I see in the industry, they combine the CSR in the financial report, the ESG report and the financial report in one report. So now people can see, okay, we do this in finance, we do this in environmental and social and governance. Very, very encouraging. And also they invest $22 billion in electric vehicles and another $7 billion in self-driving vehicles, which are digital. This is digital transformation. Electric vehicles, of course, helping the environment. And I think these are very encouraging examples on how companies are moving in the same direction with AKFI.
Right, to really see it on a different, in a different way, to not really attach to the old way of thinking, right? Because the thing we're talking about now, transformation, as we spoke at the beginning, it's not even change. It's just to create a new way of doing things. It's not to change or upgrading based on the past. It's really to create a completely new system, business models.
Absolutely. And relationships, let's not forget the social part. The business relation with your customers, with your stakeholders, people around, the factories, the enterprise, people contributing. A lot of enterprises are purely digital, fintech, banks. Not to talk about Facebook, Google, and so on, which would be. But these enterprises are purely digital. They have no So their value creation is purely in this digital world.
Right.
And some are better, some are worse with ESG reporting, with social, with cultural change, although they are in the center of the cultural change of people.
Culture change of people. Yeah, absolutely. And we've been talking today about this whole change of dynamic. So if we're talking something more practical to guide, let's say, the business leaders today, or anyone who's ambitious on that, what's your advice, Manuel, to those people who wants to leverage the situation and to create some new thing and to make a difference?
Um, two, two different groups. One is the board of directors, especially large companies which have fiduciary duties toward their company, right? I think they have to understand and become familiar. And again, encouraging. We talked to, for instance, the Singapore board of directors. I've noticed in the US the groups that are to start to name board members which are conversed, they understand the digital, or they went through digital transformation. So at that level, I think they need voting, non-voting members that are very well vested in this transformation. In the same time, they started to put in the board people that are in charge of diversity, with other aspects of ESG. So the board level, they have to be both represented. Going to the executive level, CXOs of the companies, the buzzword will be transformation. Don't try to do an ESG transformation and digital transformation, not bringing them together. Because you'll have problems with value creation, you'll have problems with being truly a game changer in ESG.
Right.
A lot of companies today are, and the regulators are getting on their case, but they are doing something which is called greenwashing, right? They put the marketing department in charge with the reports. I'm a former CMO, so I can talk about marketing.
Yeah.
But marketing departments are not about effecting change. They are about reporting. They are about good communications. They are about positioning company in the best possible light. And that's the job of a marketing person or group. So two levels of advice. Board of directors, transformation has to happen at the fiduciary duty, the calling the executives responsible, and the executives have to think transformation. We're facing two fundamental transformation processes in the same time. We cannot ride only one horse. There are two. Right. And they have to be going together, pulling the company ahead.
Amazing. They have to work together simultaneously. If you focus on either one, it will not go along the way, right? It will not fall through.
They may succeed, but they will lack on efficiency. They'll be less efficient. They'll waste resources, which is not a good thing for a company, right? You should be efficient on using your human resources, your financial resources. Right?
Exactly. Amazing. All right, great. Well, you cut the time perfectly, Manuel. I know you were worrying about running over time, but you actually did it perfectly. That I want to ask another question because it's just too short for me. I was expecting longer. I guess you kind of cover it during your talk, like your vision about a sustainable, business that with longevity. So is there any other notes you want to cover on this topic, or like your vision?
Well, change is transformation. Transformation has to be, it's not a single transformation. Most people, statistics show a Pareto kind of profile on transformation. 80% of people are not comfortable with change. Only 20% are comfortable with change. So I hope they will read your book. I hope they will learn from it, and they'll learn from the best how to do it.
Thank you for didn't expect that for promoting the book in your final speech. So I can feel that throughout the talk, your main message is kind of about people's thinking. It's not really about oh well, there is technical things, practical practice we need to follow, but it seems more focused on the way how our mind is working. We need to accept this new thing.
You're very insightful. Yes, actually, I'm looking at the psychology of change as well. I didn't touch it today. But change makes people uncomfortable. And you have to take them out of the comfort zone to effect change. This is your employees, this is your finance people, your stakeholders, your stockholders. They all have to be a little bit uncomfortable to go through this change.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that's one of the biggest challenge, if I understand your message correctly?
people remember, and let's go back to the start. This three-legged stool, actually, people are the most difficult to change. They are the most difficult. It takes the most time. They are most reluctant to change. I mentioned this Pareto, 80% are prefer no change. And connecting to these black swan events, these are catastrophic change events by definition. The change is so brutal, so unexpected. Think of COVID and the reaction of the world. They are so unexpected that people are forced to change regardless if they are ready or not. We are trying to make them a little bit more ready with, as you said, we're thinking about the plans. We're taking what we know and creating an actionable plan.
Exactly. And always be prepared, right? Even there's no black swan, it won't hurt you. It will only make you stronger, make your business more stable and more sustainable.
Absolutely. The key for preparation is not to have a perfect plan. Is to think about the future in different, like in a kaleidoscope, looking through different colors and see what it's in the future. Of course, you prefer a rosy color, right? A good future. But sometimes there is a black swan around the corner and we have to consider it as well. So we're ready. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also the importance of start thinking more about future, because actually based on my limited experience throughout the years and my talking with people, it didn't feel necessary to seem to worry about too much ahead, or because it was changing slower, especially the past 100 years. Something could last for decades, and now nothing could last for too long. So it seems like that's another reason to be really out there, to look ahead, to prevent, right, Manuel?
To prevent, to prepare, to avoid, to mitigate. Depends from case to case. But be prepared, and this is the key of strategic planning. Really, strategies are not about execution. Strategies are about being ready to change when change comes, and that's what today we talk about: change, transformation.
Right.
Digital technologies came around the corner faster than people wanted or expected, right? Here it's our video, our Zoom.
Yes.
And also the planet was neglected for too long because everything was done to be maximum in efficiency, right? Not so it's time to rethink what we're doing and how we can do it a little bit better, day by day.
Absolutely.
This is what, but to return what you said, it's about thinking about the future. It's not, if somebody knows what exactly the future is, I'll give my email address.
Exactly. You remind me of another way also. It says, if someone tells you something crazy, hold on, let me rephrase this. I read it somewhere. Basically, it means if someone tells you that uh, he probably not sure about the future, then that person might be right. But if someone tells you that he knows what's gonna come in the future, then he must be wrong. That's what I read, and it's quite true.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We believe the future is linear, right? We think that there are no changes, no discontinuities, no black swans, no accidents, and so on. And then an earthquake destroys half of Japan electric power and kills thousands of people, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because, for instance, the Fukushima was not well prepared. There was very little detail.
Mm-hmm.
The earthquake was stronger than the engineers were thinking the earthquake would be. This is where the planet does whatever the planet wants to do, and the engineers thought of an earthquake of 7.8 or something, and what was above 8.0.
You're right.
And the next thing that created a catastrophe, they put the generators in the basement. If they would have put it on the top,
Mm-hmm.
the water wouldn't get. So there are simple things. This is an example how you can analyze a problem and know how to be prepared the next time.
Right. And
As you said, think ahead.
yeah,
Don't think you'll be right, but you'll have a plan.
exactly.
Just in case.
Exactly.
Just in case.
And through this planning, you will find your unique business model that is sustainable. And because there's a tremendous opportunities, right, lie inside this process. And that's where the opportunity also is.
Absolutely. And again, digital technologies allow us to do better planning.
Nice. Amazing. What insightful talk. I like it, like how we kind of extend it to culture, to people's thinking, not just about the technical technology business model, because it's always the deeper things that reflect what we see on the outside.
Agree. And that's, we started with leadership versus management and why you need them both.
Yeah.
The leaders can spend some time to think about the futures.
Mm-hmm.
The managers are really very, very busy with daily operations.
To execute,
You
to
know,
make it
a
happen.
CEO of a large company goes from a crisis to another, one before lunch and one after lunch.
That's the reality.
So they are very busy. They are focused on maximizing the value created for their stakeholders, stockholders, and so on.
Absolutely. For sure, for sure. Well, such a wonderful talk. Thank you so much again, Manuel, for this time. And I absolutely enjoy it. I'm sure the audience won't disappoint either. Looking forward to our next talk, whether it's for collaboration or another live chat, and to share more insights on this kind of topic. Thank you so much.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you. And
thank you, Isabella, for having me as a guest.
It's my great honor to speak with you, Manuel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you to our audience as well. Take care.
Thank you.